had actually a couple of people tell me about the impact of being bullied and mistreated at work so badly that they had a guest who off camera showed me a picture, a current picture and a picture from, not long ago. And they look like the person and their parent, the difference, because of the stress associated with what was going on at work at the time. And those are things that you don't typically have that conversation. Again, Joelle, to your point, you don't have that at a conference. They don't necessarily, you don't get a chance to really dig into that. And those types of stories, I think, are important for those who don't think that psychosocial hazards are a thing, that psychological health and safety is not a thing. It's affecting real people.
So this client that I was speaking to recently works for a mining operator here in Australia, and she was visiting one of their camps that she hadn't been to, or a section of the camp that she hadn't been to before, and she was with the I think it might have been the site manager or the sort of lead safety representative on site. And they were walking through this section of the camp, and I'm quoting her directly here, so excuse my language if it offends anybody. But she said, it's a bit rapey here, isn't it? And he was quite shocked. And it hadn't, he had never looked at it through a woman's eyes and sort of thought about, it's actually quite a long walk from the main facilities of camp through quite unlighted areas. It's quite remote. And if you were the only woman staying in that section of the camp, what that would feel like and the risks that would have for your safety, especially since these are not dry camps.
I guess it had always been intended that a PCBU, a person conducting a business or undertaking, or an employer, they had an obligation to make sure that the workplace didn't cause harm to people. And by harm, it was always supposed to be around physical harm as well as psychological harm. But many employers didn't read it that way, pleading ignorance. The regulators didn't feel like they had enough to go on in order to enforce it. And so we really needed, I guess, more specific regulations that kind of talk to this obligation that employers had. So what we've got now in Australia is, more clarity around the obligations that were always there back from the 2011 Act. But it's much more understandable, I guess, for employers and much more enforceable by regulators.